Welcome to a video I'd like to call the Recappening. Well, I'm not going to do this one, but anyway, I found a website called Arcade Parts and Repair here, and they sell cap kits for old arcade stuff, which is neat, so I don't have to go and dig through Mauser and DigiKey for specific capacitors for my arcade machines that I want to recap. So I got a couple of kits from them. This one right here is a Wells Gardner K7000 series cap kit. That's for my Double Dragon machine. I'll do that later. And hopefully when I get that done, it will get me more used to working on monitors. Maybe I'll take apart a couple of my computer monitors and get capacitors replaced and all those and stuff. Because really with this sort of stuff, I'd like to be ahead of the curve before things go really wrong and I start having actual problems. So just nice to have everything all nice and fresh. But today we're going to work on these two kits right here, which is the Midway 90411 power supply kits here, and for my Wizard of Wor, I wanted to get those recapped and kept like one thing fixed on. That's not a capacitor anyway. I think these kits come with Nichicon, except for this one that it's got the axial capacitors, so I don't think Nichicon makes those. And then I bought this. This is like a full rebuild kit, but there's something about the board that's a little bit weird. I'll show you real quick. So here's the big honking freaking power supply for Wizard of Wor here. It's a big ass linear power supply. As you can see, it's got electrolytic capacitors, and I just want to get those out of there before they start doing bad things. These ones are a little bit smaller, of course, but they should be the same value and all that. And then there's this right here. And as you can see, there's a couple diodes right here and right here for rectifiers, but right here we have, I think that's like a bridge rectifier block, and you can sort of see it has 4 pins, but only 3 of them are being used, and there's something weird going on here. So instead of having 2 diodes, we got that one thing, and it looks like it's getting kind of toasty there, so I'm going to replace that and put the diodes back where they belong. So somewhere along the way that has failed, and somebody replaced it with that thing, and it doesn't look too pretty, so I'm going to make it look a little bit prettier. So that's why I got this whole other kit. Also, it's just nice to have some spare parts, I guess. Anyway, we're going to start with the big, easy, replaceable things here, the capacitors. So these kits, well, this kit comes with some zip ties to replace these zip ties, so that's kind of fancy. Anyway, these kits come with your parts, like capacitors and all that. We got these big old axial capacitor. This one's a, what? 20,000 microfarad. That'll replace this dude right here. So also these come with stickers and instructions here. This one says this power supply was recapped by who and when, so you'll know who recapped it and when. And it comes with supposedly easy to read instructions, so I'll have to take a look at those and see what those have to say. So the instructions, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Just tells you what capacitors are included in the kit, and then which polarity the capacitors are and all that good stuff. So just basic stuff. And they also made a cap map. So there is one change in this cap kit. They say that this capacitor right here has been upgraded to 2200 microfarad. So that'll be a little bit different, but should ultimately act the same. Throw that over there. So let's start with the top one, I guess. We'll just start with one at a time. Because last time I replaced all the caps in something, I forgot something because I did multiple at a time. Don't do that. Do one at a time, unless you're going to be taking pictures and being extra careful about it. Yeah, that looks kind of nasty. So I got my soldering iron, which I toasted for a week once, so it's nice and happy. Put the on there. Oh, it just popped right out, huh? Oh shoot, I didn't even have to do anything. That's easy. That's one capacitor out of there. Nice. So yeah, that looks pretty good. That's one down out of a few. I think I'll keep these capacitors around just because they look cool. So now that I got all the capacitors replaced, I'll probably put zip ties around these two because those will still fit But let's take a look at these older ones real quick. Here's this old blue looking one here. It's a little bit dinged up, but you can sort of see on the casing there it's starting to crack. So I think it might be bulging a little bit. Maybe this one's getting a little bit worn out. And also there's this one, the one that used to be right here. There's this green gunk on the very ends of it. And yeah, it might be leaking some junk. That's kind of nasty. So now we got all new capacitors on here. Now I'm going to take care of this thing. Unfortunately, looking at it, it looks like whoever soldered this up before sort of lifted this pad off the board a little bit. You can sort of see on the edges there it's starting to lift, so I might have to be a little bit careful with that. But yeah, cool. So yeah, this is going to be fun, isn't it? Let's just get this shit off here right now. Yeah, cut a bit off. It's going to take quite a bit of this stuff to get that off, so we can get some of that digital zoom going on here. Some flux on the end of this, maybe. Help pick it up better. Looks like that one's coming off the board, too. This might be a messy repair. Might be putting a little bit too much heat into that, huh? Guess we'll just take off a little bit at a time. Yeah, all those are kind of lifting off, aren't they? Well, judging by how the capacitors went compared to this, that was probably someone else's fault. At least I hope. So, I guess if we're not going to keep this stupid thing, I'll just snip it off from the top. Bye-bye. So yeah, that's a thingy. Let's see if I can pull these out, maybe. Oh, come on. Nope. Yeah, that's definitely lifting off. That's not good. I'm kind of scared to touch this one. I guess I'll just use a lot of flux and a lot of, just use my little braid. That way it hopefully doesn't catch up on, or catch on it too much. You know, having copyrighted music in the background, it probably is not a very good idea. Okay, now I guess we'll pull out the deluxe power supply rebuild kit, blah blah blah. Put this stuff over here. So everything else besides this should be functioning fine. So I don't know if I need to do the whole thing. Let me read this up here. So I think I'm going to do is I'll probably just end up doing all the diodes. These up here look like they got a little bit warm. And leave the rest of the stuff. I don't think the rest of the stuff probably needs to be changed out. Well, maybe that transistor. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll just leave that out for now. We'll just do this. We'll see how I feel later. So hopefully I can insert these without pushing the pads up. I'm going to do that off camera so I can concentrate and get a better view. Well, that was definitely stressful, but I think I got it. And of course, the pads are still kind of lifted a little bit because they're lifted. But I was able to get it through without breaking them off the tray, so I think we're all good here. Get it all soldered up, and I'll just have to, well, I'm going to clean up that mess that I made over there, but I'll just trim the leads and wipe it off, and we'll see what it looks like. Now, luckily, if you don't look at it too bad, or too close, I think it looks pretty good, actually, if my camera would focus. But yeah, there's still a little bit hanging up, but everything seems to be sturdy now. Nothing's really going to go anywhere. So I'll replace all the rest of the diodes. Unfortunately, I couldn't get them down any closer than that. The leads are so thick, they barely fit that hole, so you just kind of have to make them perfectly straight, and if it doesn't go in all the way, then whatever. But, cool. I guess I'll just replace all these other ones, like these over here and these here. Alright, now I got all the capacitors and all the diodes installed here, including the ones up there. And everything seems to be in the right orientation. I double checked, and I should probably triple check after this. But there's one more thing we gotta do before I think I'm done with this. Now, the connector pins look fine at first glance. However, I bought this handy dandy magnifying glass to take a real good look at them, even though I can see the problem without the magnifying glass. However, you cannot with that camera. Let's see here, what's a good candidate? Let's zoom in. This pin right there. Kind of cracked around the edges there, so I'm going to have to reflow all the connectors just to make sure everything has a good connection and all that. And then I think we'll be done. So now that we're done replacing all the parts that I wanted to replace, and getting the connectors all nice and resoldered and reflowed and all that stuff, I guess there's one last thing to do. I'm not going to mess with any of this, so I don't want to get this wet, but I'm going to wash this in my sink. Now here comes the horrifying part. No, not the sink. But yeah, I don't think I want to get the potentiometers that wet either, so I'm just going to kind of get this area a scrub, I suppose. Don't worry, I'm a professional. I've gotten electronics wet before. Oh, wow. Of course, this is going to be drying overnight before I use it. Besides, I got to borrow my meter from work first so that I can test the voltages before I put my game boards on there, because that would be bad if it was, well, due to new components. The voltages might vary a little bit from where it was, so I just don't want it to blow anything up. That'll do. As long as it's not sticky. I kind of don't like that sticky shit. Well, that's not going to take the sticky off. That's water. Nuts. Well, it kind of sucks. I only have that much left of the 91% isopropyl. And it's kind of hard to come by locally because, COVID and all that shit. But, oh, no, I'm going to get it all over the floor. Gross. All right, now here's the fun part, because it's a day later, and got it all dry and ready to go. Got my fluke meter here. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that at all. Yeah, I just leave it on bright. This is ground. And don't worry, the pins next to it are ground. Got it ready to go. All I got to do is pull that out, and we're ready to test it. And hopefully nothing blows up. Ooh. Scary. Hopefully this power supply also powers on without the game board hooked up. Let's see what this... 1242. A little bit high, huh? Those two pins are the same, I think, so it's not too big of a deal if I touch them. $11.98's good. $5.28 for that. $52.01. Turn it down. $5.12. Yeah, kind of nervous doing this. $5.01. $4.97. Okay, that's good. Now we gotta figure out what. Oh yeah, which pin was -5? Pin 2, huh? -535.1. That's fine. That's fine. I think that's audio. Some audio shit. All right, so let's double check here. This should be 5 down here. 497, 5 right here, or 12 right there. That's 1198. So that should be right. All right. Well, this always makes me nervous. I plugged that in, and something arced right here. I think that was the audio pin on the very top. It made a popping noise on the speaker. I don't smell any magic smoke. And I don't think I altered anything that would affect that. So, I guess we'll see if we get anything to blow up. Ugh. Oh, you know what? I forgot I did this. Plugging in the game board is always good, but I'm gonna let it... Shit, I'm gonna unplug it real quick. And then turn it on, see if I can get the discharge. Before I do that to the game board, I don't want it to, you know, toast anything. Okay. Game board has power. Ooh. Scaring myself now. Ooh, what the fuck was that noise? Hey. Well. Okay, everything works. Whew. Ooh, that wigs me out. Okay. Well, sweet. So the power supply still works, and I didn't toast anything yet. Oh, that's good to know. And it's also good to know that those capacitors are capacitors, and they store energy. And when you plug that in right after turning the power off, they might still have power that will try and power up the audio amplifier circuit. The only reason I just turned it on right there instead of, you know, taking the audio amp and checking it is I opened up the door here and checked for some magic smoke smell, so everything should be okay, even though the negative 5 volts is about 0.3 lower than it should be, but that's without any load also. So also when you put load on the power supply, it might be running a lower voltage than what you measured with the connector disconnected, so it might be a little bit undervolted, but as long as it's not going to exhibit any glitches while doing so, that will be actually better for everything since it'll run a little bit cooler. Ugh. Freaking power supply shit wigs me out. Also, that weird noise when it first started up that first time, I always forget. Well, every once in a while, when you turn the game on, the speech synthesis chip will make a rather unnerving noise. It's like when it powers up and it's powers up in a state where it's trying to make noise and there's nothing yet to tell it to shut the heck up, so that before the game boots and the SCO1 chip decides it wants to go bah into your ears when you turn it on. It kind of wigs you out, but I guess it's pretty normal. That's cool. All right, so I'm gonna let this thing limp for woo. Huh. See, I'm a little bit jumpy. I switched the track screen and I jumped because it was making noise. I guess I'll just let it run for a bit and make sure nothing's gonna go poof or boom. But so far, it seems like it's gonna work for me. And no, unfortunately, that's not all. And if we got this done, get the power supply working and all that stuff, now we gotta work on the game boards. Well, these right here are tantalum capacitors that on these Midway card rack systems like to blow up and short out and cause your game to not work. So I'm gonna change them out with these here. These are the same value, 15 microfarad. These are more, what are they? Sprague capacitors, 15 microfarad, but 50 volts instead of, I think these are 20 or something like that. So it's a little bit of an upgrade. It might be a little bit bigger. I'll have to see if they fit right. But I'm going to do that, and then I'm also going to install heat sinks, such as these guys right here, to the custom chips. This one right here and this one right here. Well, since this board has to be out on the very outside, there's going to be no clearance issues. However, I think the ones on the game board, or the game-specific board, is going to have a bit of an issue. As you can sort of see, I already wrote the names of the chip locations on some of these because I already attempted to install these on these two right here with this junk. This came with the heatsinks I got for my Voodoo card to put a heatsink on there. That glued that one on there, but this is about a couple of years old now. It doesn't work so well anymore, so I bought this junk instead. So this is probably just as crap. I don't know what I'm looking for when I'm looking for thermal glue, but hopefully this will work out well. Also, there's a couple resistors on the audio amplification board that are kind of toasted, so I'll change those up too. Alright, I finally got done with the CPU board sitting over there. Got all the boards recapped. Get rid of the tantalum capacitors and put new ones on there. Kind of like that. And now I guess I'm just going to double check all my work, make sure there's nothing on the backs of any of these boards, and double check the orientation of all my capacitors and all that good stuff. Then also on this, I forgot to order myself a replacement capacitors for these, but I took them out. I took this one out and tested it. It's still right, so I think these are fine. That resistor right there and that resistor right there I changed out because they kind of look like this. They're just kind of toasty. I don't know what happened to those, but the solder joints were all nasty and stuff. There's a little bit of gunk on the outside of the solder joints, but they're a lot better than they were. It's all nasty and burnt. So, hopefully, when I pop all this stuff back in, it will work. Alright, I double checked all my work, made sure all the capacitors are the correct direction and all that stuff, and yeah, I'm ready to give it a shot. And then if this works, then I'm almost officially done. I'll put heat sinks on those, but officially done, almost. Ugh. Then I can just enjoy it and not have to worry about failures regarding that capacitors and easy common stuff. So, oh, here we go. Moment of truth. Any smoke? No smoke. It's running. Oh boy. Alright.
For war, bread, meat, and hungry for space food. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, I'm trying to play this with one hand now. So one thing I've hopefully fixed before the starfield would kind of shake back and forth. I'm not seeing it yet, but it kind of came and went as the game heated up and played. And I'm pretty sure that the starfield is generated from the game board. And there's this area up here in the top left corner which is kind of burnt up, and I reflowed all the connections there for those all those resistors and things right there, right above that capacitor. So I reflowed all that stuff, and it was kind of toasty, so that might have been causing the shaking starfield. But, okay, it works. One more thing. Heat sinks. Alright, now all I gotta do is wait for this to dry, and then I'll probably give it a hour-long power on time just to make sure nothing blows up in the first hour of it running, then I'll call it good. Alright, one day later and the glue has dried, so these shouldn't be coming off anytime soon. So that's good. Now we're all nice and cool and ready to go. All recapped and all that good stuff. And just take a look at this other board real quick. Let me put this over here. So this, the pattern board, that burnt up spot, I was looking at it some more, and you can see some stuff here. Well, this area got really hot apparently, and you can see that some of the green stuff off the surface of the PCB has come off when I was cleaning it with the rubbing alcohol, because I think it got a little bit cooked up. Those soldering joints were really nasty looking, so I kind of redid them. It looks a little bit better that way. And also this one right here got really toasty, so I redid that. There's still a little bit of flux residue on the board, but I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, it got a little bit warm, and all the solder joints were looking really nasty, so I redid those. Alright, I'm ready to give it one more power up before I shove it all back in there. Let me turn it on. Duh. Yeah. Seems to be working. I'll have to let it stay on for a while and keep an eye on the starfield and see if it shakes back and forth. If it doesn't, then me resoldering that area probably fixed it, but yeah.
I am a Wizard of Wor.
That has been the Recappening. I think it should be ready to go for many more years now. Yeah, so I've had everything running for about an hour now, and just looking at it, this starfield's not shaking anymore. I've been sitting on my phone in here just kind of goofing off, letting it kind of heat up, and the starfield doesn't shake at all. So I think resoldering those connections on the game board actually fixed that, along with the recapping of everything. So that's kind of cool. So this thing should be set for many more years of going